Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, Russia found itself at a critical juncture. It was a nation in a state of transformation, with an economy in the midst of significant change. This pivotal period marked the birth of a cohort of individuals who would later be recognized as oligarchs, influential and affluent figures hailing from Russia. These powerful Russian oligarchs would ultimately play a defining role in shaping the trajectory of Russian history. The oligarchs' rise. The early 1990s marked the commencement of a bold experiment in Russia as the nation embarked on a transformative journey. This venture entailed a shift from a tightly controlled, state-driven economy to a free market system. This period of economic overhaul, commonly referred to as privatization, aimed to dismantle unprofitable and debt-ridden state-owned enterprises. It also paved the way for privately owned companies to take the lead in propelling the economy forward. Nevertheless, the absence of a well-defined regulatory framework created a void, which a select few individuals with influential political connections eagerly exploited. Fueled by ambition, sharp business acumen, and access to ample resources, these opportunists emerged as the architects of a new era in Russia's economic landscape. They would come to be known as the oligarchs, a term that would soon resonate throughout the corridors of power and the daily lives of ordinary Russians. During this time, industries were in a state of flux, and within this whirlwind, the oligarchs strategically acquired stakes in sectors poised for growth. Energy, natural resources, media, and telecommunications became their domains, and their wealth multiplied exponentially. Although the privatization process was originally designed to offer equal opportunities to all Russian citizens, it ultimately resulted in the consolidation of economic power among a select few. The government released bonds, each valued at about 2 months' worth of the average salary. However, during this period, finances were tight, and the prevailing uncertainty deterred many from parting with their savings to pursue these opportunities. Only a privileged few, primarily with ties to the KGB, possessed both the financial means and connections necessary to acquire what would later become the foundation of the Russian economy. However, it wasn't solely financial prowess that propelled their rise. The oligarchs understood the significance of forming alliances, weaving an intricate network of political connections that extended throughout the corridors of power. These associations weren't merely a means to an end, they constituted the very currency that upheld their dominance. Through collaboration with influential government officials, they solidified their grip on power. The oligarchs wielded significant influence over policies, secured profitable agreements, and shielded their interests from the winds of change. At the core of this transformation lay Russia's vast natural resources, a trove of oil, natural gas, and minerals. The oligarchs eagerly seized this opportunity, taking advantage of the privatization of these invaluable assets. Their control over major energy corporations not only fueled their wealth, but also firmly entrenched their position in the nation's economic landscape. Behind their financial wizardry, offshore networks of entities, and intricate financial maneuvers, they amassed even greater fortunes. These strategies allowed them to consolidate their gains, expand their economic empires, and tighten their grip on power. However, the ascent of the oligarchs was not without challenges and conflicts. As their influence grew, clashes erupted among this elite fraternity, and their aspirations often clashed with the state's vision. Vladimir Putin's rise to power in 1999 marked a pivotal turning point. The new leadership aimed to rebalance the distribution of power, reigniting debates about the extent of oligarchic influence and their place in Russia's evolving landscape. Putin and the oligarchs. Many of the oligarchs had supported Boris Yeltsin during his second term as president, allowing them to maintain a secure grip on the country's monopolization. However, during this period, Vladimir Putin was steadily gaining popularity, and many foresaw his ascent to power. Consequently, a significant number of oligarchs threw their weight behind his presidential campaign in 1999, albeit unaware of the impending changes. Putin's arrival marked a turning point that signaled a period of recalibration, confrontation, and a power struggle that would significantly influence Russia's future. The oligarchs, who had wielded substantial influence through their political connections and economic dominance, suddenly found themselves facing a formidable adversary. Putin, acutely aware of the concentration of power among this elite group, embarked on a mission to reassert the state's authority and regain control over key industries. The clashes between Putin and the oligarchs symbolized a battle for supremacy. Putin's administration initiated legal challenges, anti-corruption investigations, and applied pressure tactics aimed at compelling the oligarchs to divest their assets or cede control. The legal landscape became a battleground as the state aimed to weaken the oligarchs' political influence and their financial stranglehold. Nevertheless, the oligarchs were determined not to surrender without a fight. They harnessed their substantial resources and strategic acumen in defense of their hard-earned empires. Utilizing legal countermeasures, political maneuvering, and media campaigns, they shielded their acquisitions and endeavored to sway public opinion. As the ongoing power struggle unfolded between Putin and the oligarchs, a new player entered the fray: the rise of the Siloviki. This group consisted of individuals with backgrounds in security and law enforcement, united by their allegiance to Putin. Emerging from the depths of Russia's security apparatus, they embodied a unique brand of authority and unwavering loyalty. The Siloviki, often characterized by their strong-handed approach and dedication to the state's interests, began to assume an increasingly prominent role. This represented a significant shift in the power dynamics. While the oligarchs had thrived on their economic and political connections, the Siloviki wielded a different form of power grounded in security control and unwavering allegiance to Putin's vision. The term Siloviki derives from the Russian word silovik, meaning a person of power or force. This name reflects their origins within security and law enforcement agencies, underscoring their affiliation with strength, control, and unwavering loyalty to the state and its leadership. The Siloviki comprised individuals from agencies such as military intelligence services, the police, and other security branches, imbuing them with a strong sense of discipline. Operating with a hierarchical structure and a pragmatic governance approach, the Siloviki collectively embodied a potent fusion of political influence and security expertise. They frequently prioritized stability and control, making them a formidable force within Russia's political landscape. Prominent figures within the Siloviki ranks, such as Igor Sechin, the chairman of Rosneft and a close confidant of President Putin, stood out. Sechin's KGB background and extensive connections positioned him as a key architect of Russia's energy sector and a central player in the nation's power dynamics. Another notable Silovik was Dmitry Medvedev, who is more recently recognized for his occasional nuclear strike threats toward Europe and the US. He served as Russia's president from 2008 to 2012, and later as prime minister. Medvedev's association with Putin dated back to their time together in St. Petersburg, and his various government roles underscored the interconnected relationships between the Siloviki and the political elite. The Siloviki's unwavering loyalty to Putin and his vision was of paramount importance. Those who aligned with his policies and displayed steadfast commitment to his leadership often advanced within the hierarchy of power. However, disappointing Putin or falling out of favor could result in swift and significant consequences. Individuals who failed to meet the president's expectations or challenged his authority often experienced reduced influence, reassignments, or even legal challenges. Since the onset of the Ukraine conflict, the repercussions became even more severe, with Siloviki who disappointed Putin sometimes meeting tragic ends, as instances of them taking flights out of windows became grimly common. This method of eliminating unwanted siloviki became so widely discussed that the internet was flooded with memes and jokes about Russian oligarchs learning to fly. Even before the war, the siloviki were not immune to internal rivalries and power struggles. Those displaying weakness were frequently removed one way or another. Those who did not resist often faced asset confiscation and abandonment. Those who resisted often ended up in prison or faced even worse fates. The rise of the siloviki marked a shift towards a more centralized and security-focused form of governance. Their influence complemented Putin's leadership style, which prioritized stability, control, and a pragmatic approach to national governance. During this period, the old-school oligarchs faced a challenging decision: align with or oppose Putin amid Russia's political theater. The fates of prominent oligarchs. Vladimir Putin's presidency paints a vivid picture of the consequences, both perilous and rewarding, that awaited those who dared to challenge or align with the Kremlin's authority. One of the most notable instances of opposition to Putin's rule was exemplified by Mikhail Khodorkovsky. At one time, he held significant influence in the Russian oil industry and openly contested Putin's political direction, even providing funding to opposition parties. However, his dissent met with a swift and unwavering response. In 2003, Khodorkovsky was apprehended, and his oil company, Yukos, was dismantled through legal maneuvers, resulting in his imprisonment for a decade. This served as a stark reminder that crossing Putin's path came with severe consequences. On the other side of Putin's equation was Boris Berezovsky, a former oligarch and media magnate who had once been a political kingmaker. However, his increasing opposition to Putin led to his self-imposed exile in the United Kingdom. His efforts to rally opposition forces from abroad achieved limited success, and his mysterious death in 2013 underscored the high stakes associated with political dissent. Alexei Navalny, a prominent anti-corruption activist and opposition figure, has faced repeated arrests, threats, and even an assassination attempt believed to have been orchestrated by Russian security services. Navalny's unwavering commitment to exposing corruption and his outspoken criticism of the Kremlin have made him a symbol of resistance, but have also made him a target of the authorities. The case of Alexander Litvinenko serves as a chilling example of the lengths to which the Kremlin might go to silence dissenters. Litvinenko, a former KGB officer turned vocal critic of Putin's government, was poisoned with a lethal dose of radioactive polonium in London in 2006. This incident sparked an international outcry and cast a dark shadow over the tactics employed against opponents. On the flip side of the spectrum, oligarchs who aligned themselves with Putin often found themselves in advantageous positions. Roman Abramovich, a billionaire with strong ties to Putin, successfully maintained and expanded his business interests, particularly in the energy sector. His loyalty to the Kremlin was rewarded with influence and protection. Similarly, Mikhail Prokhorov and Alisher Usmanov, both oligarchs closely connected to the Russian government, saw their fortunes rise during Putin's presidency. Prokhorov's involvement in politics, including running for president as an independent candidate, did not impede his success. Meanwhile, Usmanov's various ventures continued to thrive. Viktor Vekselberg, another oligarch with an amicable relationship with the Kremlin, was able to expand his business empire and become a prominent figure in Russia's business landscape. Those who chose to align with Putin indeed found themselves leading opulent lifestyles. The Oligarchs Lifestyle. Roman Abramovich, often recognized for his ownership of Chelsea Football Club, epitomized the opulent lifestyle enjoyed by many oligarchs. His grand yachts, luxurious estates, and high-end art collections showcased his immense wealth. As a close confidant of Putin, Abramovich successfully merged his business endeavors with political affiliations, solidifying his status as a key player in both spheres. Abramovich's opulence extended to the azure waters, where his fleet of luxurious yachts transformed into floating palaces of extravagance. Among his notable vessels was the Eclipse, a yacht that held the title of one of the largest and most opulent private yachts globally. It boasted features like multiple swimming pools, a dedicated disco hall, and even a missile defense system, embodying Abramovich's penchant for pushing the boundaries of luxury on the high seas. His private jets, such as the customized Boeing 767, allowed him to seamlessly transition from the waves to the skies while maintaining an aura of exclusivity and grandeur. In contrast, Mikhail Prokhorov, with diverse interests spanning from mining to media, exuded a cosmopolitan aura. His ownership of the Brooklyn Nets basketball team and involvement in the entertainment industry underscored his global reach. Prokhorov was a distinctive figure known for his active and dynamic lifestyle. Prokhorov ventured into politics by running for the Russian presidency in 2012. Meanwhile, his lavish living spaces and extravagant celebrations provided a glimpse into his high-flying lifestyle. Mikhail Prokhorov, a natural globetrotter, extended his cosmopolitan presence to the skies with a fleet of private jets customized for his jet-setting way of life. These aircraft were not merely modes of transportation, but served as mobile command centers for his multifaceted endeavors. Prokhorov's extensive property portfolio further emphasized his high-energy lifestyle. Whether it was his expansive villa in the French Alps or his opulent penthouse overlooking Manhattan, these residences reflected his global reach and his seamless ability to move between the world's most iconic destinations. Alisher Usmanov's path to riches, primarily through metals and mining, catapulted him to prominence as one of Russia's wealthiest individuals. His acquisitions included a significant stake in Arsenal Football Club, further elevating his international profile. Usmanov's deep passion for art and philanthropy underscored a more multifaceted approach to his opulent lifestyle, blending business, culture, and social responsibility. His private jets and yachts became symbols of his remarkable ascent. In the realm of business and culture, Alisher Usmanov's private jet, a gleaming Gulfstream, effortlessly transported him to far-flung corners of the world, allowing him to oversee his multifaceted empire. Likewise, his luxury yachts, exemplified by the Dilbar, mirrored his appreciation for life's finer pleasures. Usmanov's grand estates, spread from London to Moscow, served as the backdrop for his opulent lifestyle. Each property offered a glimpse into his multifaceted persona, a fusion of business titan, art aficionado, and philanthropist. Victor Vekselberg, renowned for his involvement in natural resources and metals, epitomized the union of wealth and culture. His deep fascination with art and historical artifacts led to the creation of world-class museums showcasing his extensive collections. Vekselberg's commitment to cultural preservation was interwoven with his business endeavors, resulting in a unique blend of opulence and heritage. His affinity for culture found expression not only in his private jets, but also in his properties. His aircraft were adorned with artworks, turning every journey into a curated experience. Moreover, his properties transcended traditional boundaries, housing world-class museums dedicated to his vast art and historical artifact collections. These cultural landmarks, combined with his impressive real estate holdings, showcased Vekselberg's distinctive ability to intertwine his passion for heritage with his business acumen. These oligarchs, while indulging in lives of luxury, were acutely aware of the symbiotic relationship between wealth, influence, and the political landscape. Their support for Putin's regime not only provided them with the means to savor life's finer pleasures, but also secured them a seat at the table where crucial decisions were made. Unfortunately, despite their efforts, they were unable to persuade Putin to temper his ambitions and avoid the destructive war in Ukraine. How did their life change after the Western sanctions? Amidst the turbulent geopolitical landscape, characterized by Putin's aggression towards Ukraine and the subsequent imposition of Western sanctions, the lives of Russian oligarchs who had aligned themselves with Putin's authority underwent a profound transformation. The opulent existence they had carefully crafted now confronted unprecedented challenges that reshaped their influence and altered their extravagant lifestyles. The European Commission's Priests and Seas Task Force, established to enforce sanctions against Russians and Belarusians, emerged as a pivotal force in curtailing their financial maneuvers. This initiative had the primary goal of freezing and confiscating the assets of those targeted by sanctions. The International Russian Elites, Proxies, and Oligarchs Repo Task Force, comprising G7 nations and the European Union, further amplified these efforts. The collaboration between these task forces transcended transatlantic boundaries, emphasizing their unwavering determination to enforce sanctions and dismantle the power structures that supported the oligarchs. The oligarchs, who were once accustomed to wielding their influence within Putin's inner circle, found themselves ensnared by the tightening grip of sanctions. These measures were not solely aimed at their personal wealth, but also intended to disrupt the financial channels that fueled Putin's war machine. The opulent lifestyles of the oligarchs were no longer shielded from the consequences of their alignment with Putin's agenda. The disruption caused by the sanctions, coupled with heightened scrutiny from international regulatory bodies, sharply contrasted with their previous unchecked extravagance. This shift in their circumstances underscored the limitations of their power and the challenges of maintaining their status quo in the face of a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. The oligarchs' attempts to navigate this new reality revealed a complex interplay of interests. Some, like Mikhail Friedman, actively lobbied for the lifting of sanctions, engaging with opposition figures and seeking compromise. However, the effectiveness of such efforts remained questionable, as the sanctions inadvertently exposed the oligarchs' precarious position within the global financial framework. While the grandeur of the oligarchs may have been momentarily disrupted, a broader question loomed. Could individuals who had amassed immense wealth through their ties to the Russian government genuinely alter the trajectory of Putin's regime? The constraints of the sanctions, coupled with their intricate entanglement in the power structures of Putin's Russia, rendered their influence more ambiguous than ever before. As we contemplate how many more sanctions it might take for Russian oligarchs to take a stand against Vladimir Putin, one thing remains certain. The Russian president won't yield easily, especially considering his formidable protective forces.